Sound stressed, Brian. What's happening? What'd you do?
I bought 265 steers. I stole, and I got 50, 60 head of steers stuffed up. 50, 60, 70 up. I don't know. 65 was my thing. Anyway, I caught what you're doing with such steers at 69.
What's cool about it now is culture's been a huge deal with our truckers. It took me a long time to build that. Well, demand's amazing. I mean, if you go to a restaurant, you're gonna order a pork chop, you're gonna order a big old steak.
Did he buy more out of St. Joe than anywhere else? Was that?
At the time. Okay. But I'd tell you, he probably bought more cattle on that phone sitting at St. Joe than he did actually at St. Joe.
Well, good morning. It's an April overcast morning. I'm driving up from Springfield on my way to Foote Cattle over in Bucyrus, Kansas, which is just south of Kansas City. Joseph, our videographer, he's driving from Des Moines, going to meet us over there. And I've been there before, but we're going to see Greg Foote and tour his operation. If you have ever heard of Foote Cattle or don't know about them, they're a very large, probably the largest cattle feedlot producer in Kansas. They have several operations. We were talking to Greg and his brother about doing this video. We were trying to figure out how we could get it all in because they have feedlots all over Kansas, even Nebraska. And so we settled on just doing Bucyrus, which I think there's going to be plenty of footage and video to really give a scope of who they are. This company is huge. You know, I think for me, I personally have a fascination with the cattle industry, and maybe it's just, you know, always growing up watching cowboy movies and Wild West, but even today, most people, it's kind of came back with the Yellowstone series, but well, I know Greg will give us a glimpse of that and how that really works. So this will be another awesome BulkLoads feature to really do that. We'll have a great story of the Foote Cattle Company.
Yeah, so Dad, you started out as an order buyer in the 90s. You go to Kansas City Stockyards, and then this is actually at St. Joe. You know, I tell you where he really got started on it, you know, being around cows and stuff, obviously, but he used to get in the Kansas City Star, and he had one of those trucks. I think they had a gooseneck trailer, and then they had one of those, what do they call those big trucks that has the rack on them that you could pull up to that you always see in the old days. I think he had one of those too. I'm not sure, but he used to buy them online, especially bread stock, all over the place. Well, they used to put it like Kansas City Star, so they used to have a huge section in there for cattle for sale in Kansas City Star. So he's been his days when he was first getting started just calling those people.
These are farmers all over the area.
This all over the area,
They
had 15 mama cows for sale or something. So they had 15 feeder cattle for sale. So you'd go in and he would try to make a deal, and he got pretty good at it. So he knew weights really good. You know what cattle were going to weigh. He'd buy them by the head. A lot of cattle were traded by the head back then. So he'd buy them by the head, and then he would sell them. Either keep some of them, or he would take them up to Kansas City Stockyards, trade on them. He traded a lot. So he'd buy cattle, trade them, and all this kind of stuff. That's where he really got his go. So this is out of St. Joe. The St. Joe, our buyer number was 30. So I always say I went to K-State for school, but I got my master's degree at St. Joe. So I spent a lot of years of my life going to St. Joe, because after a while, Dad got busy. I kind of took over going to a lot of those sales he was going to. Just because, you know, manage and everywhere else what we're buying, you know. When I first got to college, we just had 2 feed yards, but as we got more, you know, we were shopping at different places. And
St. Joe doesn't exist anymore, right?
No, it's a sad deal. So, I mean, a lot of those guys are still around. I'll actually show you in the other room. I have a bunch of St. Joe stuff, but these came from St. Joe. So whenever they tore it down, it was in that real historic area of St. Joe. So
did he buy more out of St. Joe than anywhere else? Was that
at the time? Okay. But I'd tell you, he probably bought more cattle on that phone sitting at St. Joe than he did actually at St. Joe. St. Joe kind of gave him a feel for the market, and then he had other order buyers or different ranchers calling him, and he was buying cattle on that phone.
Same phone in the picture, right?
Same phone in the picture. Cool. It is kind of fun.
That's awesome.
You're the youngest, right?
Yeah.
It goes
Scott, Brad, Colleen, me.
Okay.
Yep, 4 of us.
Very cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm kind of a surprise package. So I'm 12 years younger. Dad was 42. I always went with Dad everywhere. His buddies were like, "Go tell your grandpa." When I was a little kid, it was funny, and he'd snicker right back at him. It was funny. How you doing, Curls?
Well, you know, Greg,
It's going good. How are you,
I'm doing great.
Nathan? What are you doing, buddy?
For an old man, anyway.
Good to meet you, Jared Flynn.
I'm Steve Schrock.
My name's Joseph Zeiger. Nice to meet you.
Steve Schrock. Yeah.
You're the first employee?
One of the first ones, yes.
One or two?
Yeah, one. Truthfully, the third one. Third one, really, but yeah, but I drove the truck for quite a few years. Well, I should say quite a few. For about 3 or 4 years.
The Dad had him come in, and then he used to be the mechanic. He used to rebuilding.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we rebuilding all those brakes and stuff over at the other farm.
Oh, yeah. Put a lot of brakes on, a lot of transmissions,
Oh yeah,
Golly.
and a lot of good stuff.
he could tell you about Dad on the dispatch, and now we got all the system. We got the system TMS, and you can send all the communication. A little different back then when it Curls.
Yeah, years ago, I'd call them in the morning, and then I'd call them at noon, then I'd call in the evening, and then I'd have to stop and call them in between times.
When back then, though, you having to call from a house phone or
Oh yeah,
no cell
at
phone.
our house the phone rang all night. I mean, it always was ringing because, he's sending them all over the place. Curls, I mean, he'd have you go to the Stockyards load.
Yeah, he used to send me way down Texas. One time I remember real well. I got a load of cattle out of Texas, and he was going to try and sell them as I was bringing them up.
Oh my God.
I had to stop in Oklahoma and call him. Had to stop in southern Kansas and call him. Had to stop in Topeka and call him. He said, "Dang it, I ain't got them sold yet. Bring them to the house." What was real fun to see was gathering them cattle with a helicopter.
Yeah.
They were herding them with a helicopter?
Yep, they brought them up out of the pastures in helicopters. The helicopter just bobbing up and down like that.
Wasn't there a ton of loadouts too? Could you load like 3 or 4 trucks at a time down there or something?
4 trucks at a time.
Yeah.
Because you got your bunch of cattle. Next guy got his bunch of cattle, and you better have yours ready by the time the next bunch came. Yeah, they loaded 4 at one time.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Curls has been around here a long time, and so now he kind of gets to manage it. He gets to take winters off, and he gets to do whatever Curls wants to do, pretty much, in the right, Curls?
Curls kind of doesn't do much except drive tractors anymore.
What was
I just pedal around here and there a little bit.
Well, Curls, we'll let you go.
Yeah.
Good to
Okay.
see you, buddy.
Yeah, pleasure to
Good to
meet
see
you. Yeah, God bless you.
Nice to meet you.
Y'all be careful.
Yeah.
All right, see you, Curls.
Hey guys, we're super excited. We just launched the BulkLoads fuel card. After years of preparation and planning, we now have a card for our BulkLoads members. If you're interested, go to the link below or go on BulkLoads and click on the fuel card tab. This card we have put together, you can save at all the major truck stops. We're super excited to get it out there. So check out the BulkLoads fuel card.
Oh, yeah. So that's St. Joe. We're not really sure of the date, but by looking at the cars, I think it's like in the 30s.
Is this where...
That's Bartlett.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah. So that's Missouri River coming through. Wow. So you can tell, you talk about logistics. I mean, cattle might be the only commodity that went away from trains to trucks, if you really think about it, because a lot of these cattle went in trains. But yeah, that's how a lot of this was done. And then they hauled them in. This was the old exchange building. And then, Swift and Armour was right there, and they just run them right over there on the bricks, and the slaughterhousing facilities were there. But that's like Triumph Foods today, which is a huge pork operator that kind of works with Seaboard, but it's a neat business. They have a cool model. I mean, you guys saw Kramer's up there.
Well, I was just going to say, because they have a small stake in that.
Yeah, that's a good family. Got to know them a little bit, and they've been super successful. And but that Triumph, it's neat how they were able to get those producers to own that plant. It's a neat model how they did that. So this is St. Joe at the last sale, which it says the date. What's the date of that sale say right there?
21.
What was the date?
5/19.
Yeah, it was on my birthday. It was on May 19, 2021. But this is the last sale. This is the last load. Ruoff, that's who the consignor was. That's Whitaker. Dwayne Penny on Realtor, he's my buddy, and Mark Service, he still buys cattle for me today.
So St. Joe,
and Barry buys cattle for me too.
St. Joe just shut down in 21. That's
not very long ago.
yeah.
So
I guess I was thinking like 20 years ago.
You know, Dad was not. You know, Dad really took off, but I called Dad on this last load. You know, and he really wasn't involved in the business, but I wanted to call him on that last load. It was an emotional deal. Everybody was crying. I was crying. You know, I spent 20 plus years of my life at this place. And so I bought that load after talking to Dad, and that's the order slip and the closeout right over there. So, and you could see what the cattle were bringing back then. It's crazy, the difference. Just in 2021, not very long ago, those cattle cost $135 and a quarter.
And today they are.
Oh, they bring, I'd say 270. I mean, they're way more. So these cattle are bringing.
So double, if not.
Yeah, more than double.
Talk about your wall real quick. It's pretty cool.
Oh, this is great. So a lot of family stuff here. So that's me and my boys, my wife and my boys. These are my sister-in-laws. I was at a benefit auction that I was auctioneering at in the church deal, and they came to the event. We had a lot of fun. So we'll probably talk about Colin. We lost my sister-in-laws in high school in 2003, and it was a bad deal. She was in a little fender bender accident. She was 22 or 3 years old at the time. And it was a week before her wedding.
Oh man.
Yeah, we buried her in her wedding dress and everything. It was terrible. It was horrible. So anyway, Dad was out of town. He was at the Feedyards, and yeah, Jim actually went and picked me up at school. It was a bad deal. This is at the livestock auctioneering contest I brought my nephew with me. I have really
That's
awesome,
Scott's son?
Yeah.
Yep.
I have some pretty awesome nieces and nephews. My grandpa was up there. That's Earl Foote up on top. And then this Jess down here, this is my dad's grandpa. And he's the one who taught my dad a lot about cattle. And then if you look below here, on the bottom, over to the far left, my left, your left, that's my dad, his brother Jim, and then Booger.
That's a really good photo.
It is kind of fun. So, you know, that was just way back when, you know, when they were doing farming. Dad did a lot of trucking too.
One of those hats.
Isn't that a sweet hat? You know, those hats are like back in style.
Yeah.
Everybody loves those hats. Always envision it because this is just a map I keep of different ranches we do business with.
Yeah.
In different facilities. We also put Trump's little deal here. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
This photo is where?
This is at one of our ranches in Manhattan.
Okay.
A lot of these guys we do business with, we might be getting cattle from them multiple times a year if they're stocker operator, but if it's a home race deal, those guys, that's payday when those guys show up. So those guys can be highly stressed. They want to make sure things are going right for them. The last thing they want to have is a grumpy truck driver shows up. So we really have guys that take pride in how they look, how their trucks look. They get to know those guys, get to know their family, get to know their, you know, it's just a big deal.
For you.
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys, like, I know they go all over, but like most of these guys, mainly Midwest states, they're hauling.
Yeah, for the most part. And I tell you, it's been nice too, because we used to have spread axles and tandems. We used to have 48th and 50-foot tandems, and then now these are 53 tri-axles. And we do a lot of fat rails with 3/4 jails. And I tell you, the counterbalance that they have up front, it was just such a safety hazard for us. We've made them to where they have fat rails, and we have air movement for them. We have some on the back. You know, we're trying to make sure that these cattle, we don't want to eliminate dark cutters. We want to make sure these cattle are walking off stress-free, because we want to make sure they're for fat, because we're hauling fat cattle and feeder cattle both. Those are the two things we're hauling. So we're hauling fat cattle out of the feed yards, going to plants, then we're hauling feeder cattle into the feed yards.
One thing I love about livestock trailers, like I don't know, because no other trailer does like where they put the brand or the symbol on the front top. You always see whatever trucking company or
I got a porch light up here too. Yeah, it is fun. It really is. So we wanted to make sure we branded that properly. And what's cool about it now is culture has been a huge deal with our truckers. It's took me a long time to build that, but we want our guys to be team players when we're loading together, making sure we're doing a nice job, getting them counted, getting cattle on the road safely, all those kind of things.
PSI dispatch. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so PSI really, so we haul grain also. We have grain trailers. We haul a lot of wet distillers from different ethanol plants. And then we have a few pneumatic trailers because we have our own. We have a calcium plant now. And we just built, and then we have a Pioneer Nutrition, which is kind of our base supplement that we use for at the feedlots.
Okay.
So it's not a huge deal, but we have that, and then we also have in dumps, those kind of things.
Yeah.
You know, they always say the cattle ring a bell. So I got the idea from Ted Sims, who is a BulkLoads.
Sims Global.
Yeah, I was up at his office, and what does they call that? The ninja warrior.
Gong.
The gong. You know, it
gong.
sounds like they're getting ready to do Taekwondo in there or something. And I just thought it was badass. I was in there, that thing went off about 3 different times when I was in there. I was like, we need something like that to give a little energy. So a buddy of mine that actually did our woodwork, he built this for us. He hunts and stuff on our ground, and so he gets to ring the bell, Jared. I think you deserve it as much as you've been running around. Let's go, do it.
Yeah.
I feel like the testosterone flowing through your veins.
Chest just got a little bigger.
What would you attribute the higher cattle prices right now to versus in the past few years?
Well, demand's amazing. I mean, if you go to a restaurant, you're gonna order a pork chop, you're gonna order a big old steak.
Yeah.
A steak
Do
every
you
time.
think it's this culture and like carnivore diets and like?
Oh yeah, carnivore diet's huge. I mean, and I watched a video the other day that was on that a guy sent to me. It was a prime rib recipe on Facebook, an influencer that like sells seasonings and stuff. It had 32 million views. Looked amazing. And I figured if 1% of the people that watched that video went and tried it, it equated out to like 4,500 head of cattle.
I need to just
I think influencers are huge.
Oh, dude.
Oh, I don't. No one talks about it. It's
What do
like,
you think this? What do you think this is for?
it's unbelievable. But yeah, this house right here. This is where we grew up.
That's awesome.
And then we moved out when I was 2. And Colton lives there now that works for us. But this is where we learned a lot of stuff right here. Because this is the processing barn right over here. You know, we spent a lot of time in there working sick cattle, processing new cattle.
Yeah.
Just keep a ton of them around. We kind of fixed this barn up. This was the original barn.
Is your
It's
mom
still here?
Does your mom still live here?
No, my mom lives down the road.
Okay.
This was like our first huge project. Pouring, this is in December '87. That's all of our ages on there. I was 6 months old. Quinn was 7. Brad was 10. It was kind of a big deal.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You've had everything you shows. You've had a passion to really like cleaning up land. And where does that come from? Just
we started doing it with Dad, and we love doing that. If we buy something or clean it up, I just like keeping our facility in tip-top shape if we can.
Yeah,
know.
It shows for sure.
All down, but here's the Freightliner that I was telling you about.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they really fixed this truck up good now.
Yeah,
I'm telling
it looks
you.
great.
It had a Mercedes motor in it. Really should have just sold it, but like I say, it kind of turned into a project. This is like the only Freightliner we own. But he did a whole Cummins motor in there, and then they fixed it all completely up. I mean, it's got some power. Put twin stacks on it. It was a project.
Yeah,
Never thought I'd spend that kind of money on a Freightliner. It's kind of an accidental deal. These trucks have automatics in them, just for a lot of our guys that aren't driving over the road all the time. Just a safety deal. More guys that have the ability to do it.
I like this blue color. What's the story behind that?
All of our trucks over the road are either white or red, but I bought these Pete's that were that blue, and I wanted this Freightliner to match it, so that's what I ended up doing.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought these
Just
trucks
kinda
off
keep
of
it
a lease. Yeah. Always have the red F though, but
Actually,
I do like
pops with that blue. I like
it actually looks pretty good. Yeah. He fixed this truck up really nice though, but dude, it's a nice little truck for a farm truck. Just never, it never goes over the road. Just kind of keeping right here on the farm. This was my first original office, Jared. This scale house right here. This floor was poured in 1967, and this was a scale house building. And this is still the original concrete. And this is where my office was. It was just me and Jim. And then eventually we added on once, and we added on again, then tore this one down. It's been a kind of a project. But it's cool.
So cool.
Yeah.
You got the old
Yeah, the old scale. I never wanted this to go because I just love it in the piece, but we're gonna have to get rid of that scales eventually, but it's all kind of original. But then we added on and just kind of worked from there.
Well, we got new plates for the trucks.
Mom, what are you trying to get in work today or what?
Yeah, I'm trying to pretend I'm working.
So this is Mom.
Hi,
Mom,
Jared,
you're on TV
Flynn.
already.
Good to meet you.
Hi, Jared.
My name's Joseph. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Joseph.
You look too young to be his mom.
Oh, thank you. Love ya.
Favorite person.
Yeah, there you go.
So you worked at Bartlett?
Yep, I worked at Bartlett, and that's where I grew up in eastern Missouri, but went to Mizzou, but worked for Bartlett, and that's where I really learned trucking. I mean, I knew farming, but I did all the truck logistics, coordinating all the grain loads out of western Kansas, Colorado, and myself and another partner, Matt, we started BulkLoads, but it's a online load board where shippers can post loads and truckers can view them on there. So what's your job now?
Just keeping everybody in line.
Hey, she knows what's going on though. she just comes by whenever.
I love keeping up on everything.
When Bob really kind of got into the cattle business, I'm just kind of curious the conversations that you all, if you can remember having with him, wanting to really, I mean, I know it was a slow process, but talk about it.
Well, I don't know that it was really all that slow. You know, I had no idea that he had cared about cattle until we were on our honeymoon. And we went to Colorado. And he goes, I want to go buy Momfords, in Greeley. I want to see the Feedyard.
This is about honeymoon? A honeymoon?
Yeah, this is our honeymoon. This is our honeymoon.
That's romantic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Romantic. He did end up taking me though to the Broadmoor, and that was very lovely, in Colorado Springs. And it was wonderful. We ate up at the top. We had beef Wellington and wine, and everything was. So it wasn't all feed yards, but there were quite a few feed yards. So after going through Greeley, then we went through western Kansas on the way home and had to stop and see some feed yards there too.
Did you know that this was going to be the plan?
No, not until then. Yeah, after I said I do.
You had to secure it first.
and he goes, I want to live out here someday. I go, oh, okay. I go, but what about our families? I'm from around Chillicothe, Missouri.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I go, they're pretty far away from here. He goes, well, you can learn how to fly a plane. I go, oh, all right. And he doesn't even like for me to drive the car. And here he's wanting me to fly the plane.
Wow.
But anyway, it started like at the very first of our marriage, he would trade cattle. Like he would get the Kansas City Star out and see who was selling, and we would pack up we had Scott and then Brad. They were both real tiny, and he would go and buy cattle, and he had this way of he could figures in his head without a calculator, and he knew what an animal would weigh. He was good at guessing their weight, so he didn't have to be picking, when he was buying them for him, he would.
And he's a good negotiator too. I mean, guys liked him. He knew how to. He knew how to make a deal. Yeah. That was kind of an artist on how he having that deal to go through his brother and just seeing family business. He wanted us all to have, or he didn't want us on top of each other. He wanted us to be spread out.
Have their own identity, their own lives.
Yeah, that was pretty smart because of what happened with his brother.
Right.
That kind of led to him to say, hey, I think it's going to work better if we
spread
you guys out. Well, you bring that up and talk about the different, because all you brothers really have different roles in the organization.
Yeah.
Can you kind of...
Yeah, and we do have different roles, but we talk about it if we have big situations going on. Yeah.
How do you, in a business like this, I just think about, I'm in software, we have our server go down.
Yeah.
We have some trouble, some angry customers, but in the cattle business, you're dealing with so many live creatures.
Absolutely.
I guess in my mind, there's a lot of, I think of all the stress that can be involved. How do you keep peace
Well, that's
running the business.
that's why we're in Western Kansas environment. You know, it's a great area to feed cattle because you don't have high humidity. You know, it's a great place to do it. That's why we're out there. You got good aquifer for water, and you know, Sheridan County where Hoxie's in is we can raise some pretty good corn there, and it's just a great place to be able to take care of them.
Plus, though, we all have God in our lives.
There you go.
You've got to go to church and pray and have God on your side too.
And you got to love cattle too, you know?
Yeah, you have to love what you do or it never works.
Yeah.
With whatever you do in life.
Yeah, I was just thinking with all the logistics and moving parts, like you have to stand on your faith because it could eat you alive otherwise.
Yeah.
I mean, everything. Well, thanks for sharing. I'm glad you came over and you got to do this. So that's unexpected.
Mom's everybody's best friend.